At the time it all started, I recall being in the army. I left the army in 1972, the 2nd Royal Tank Regiment. My enlistment period ended in July 1972, but it was on the news all the time we were there in the army, so I was aware it was happening, but I was not involved with it, and I just stumbled into it really. When I came out of the army, I came to Abergynolwyn, a little village in the Dysynnu Valley down there. I was told by somebody that there was work available immediately in Tonfanau camp, and I was employed as a driver for the Department of Environment, who was just formed. I was paid by the Environment Agency. After our day's work, when the people came, we did volunteer. Basically, when I started, it was a case of driving the men around the camp, equipment and whatever. I was issued with a long wheelbase Land Rover, and we're going up the mountains and finding stuff like water source that's been turned off for years and making sure it was working. They were also employing the stokers to come along and stoke the boilers that was there. And most of the time we were chasing around trying to find bits and pieces for these things that hasn't worked for years. It was quite an experience. It wasn't a bad state. I mean, there was damp everywhere. You know, like you said, it hasn't been used, nobody was there. So it was just being run down, really. And there was a lot of people, the WRVS and the Red Cross and people like this here, but they were all very helpful. Everybody was giving it their best shot, you know, to make sure that these people was comfortable. It wasn't the nicest place. It wasn't paradise. It was howling wind most of the time. You know, it was downright antisocial, really. The climate there was awful. Yeah. So I wouldn't like to have been one of them, you know, so not knowing what's happening to you. I remember it was quite a sad sight, you know, people coming off trains, people improperly dressed, that nobody was like, it wasn't like actually going to a fashion show, you know. People were heartbroken, you know, they were miserable, and it was they didn't know what was going to happen to them. A lot of them was happy to be safe, you know, because they didn't know in Uganda what was going to happen next. I mean, if you look at the whole newsreel, and they didn't know if they're going to be shot or attacked or what. So they were secure here, and they had hope because there was people helping them, and they knew sooner or later they'd go somewhere, or whether that somewhere would be better or worse. It was to be in the future. I come from the Caribbean. I'm an Indian, same as those people are. We were sent there, you know, indentured labour. It was the same as they were sent to Africa, should you imagine. So we've always been a race that goes wherever we go. We try to make our community better, you know. And it's the reason I'm a counsellor. If you move into a community, you've got to make it better. Try, at least try. You know, and if you can't, and you want to moan about that community, then you leave and you find one that you like. It's always been, it's inbred in us from the Caribbean and these Commonwealth countries to help people, you know, and that's what we do. I mean, there was people I met there who really changed your attitude. There's a girl called Frances Ablett. She was one of I think her father had an estate agent here in Towin. She helped an awful lot, and you know, she was really good with people. You know, no matter who you were, she made you feel at ease. And I spent a lot of time with her, and I learned a lot from her. We had a lot of fun here. There was a house up at the top of Tonfanau, an old mansion house that the volunteers was using to live in. And we had an awful lot of parties there in 1972. It was great. We had a lot of fun as well, you know. And yes, the volunteers, everybody was great. The people of Towin was extremely wonderful, you know. It's just a pity that a lot of people don't know what their parents have done to these people, you know, for these people. Hopefully this will tell a story, you know. My background is I was born on the island of Trinidad and Tobago in 1950. My father had 7 sons. I'm the 7th one, and I had a brother that was living in London, and he wanted one of the brothers to come over and join him. And I was 13 at the time. I was selected to go. Whether I was naughty or whether I was quite clever, I'll never know. And when I got to London, in October 1963. It was snowing. I had a black suit on and white shoes. I'll never forget that. It was snowing at Heathrow. And then I moved in with my brother and sister-in-law. I was pretty good at school. And I left in 1965. I left school and I left the house, and I lived in London with friends and various places, and I started having my adventure. It was the summer of love and all that, 1967. And I had a lovely time in London, and in 1969 I joined the army. I don't know why. I was walking by this army recruiting office, and it seemed like a good thing at the time. And we joined the army for 3 years, and that was it. And in my travels with the army, we came to North Wales to climb Cadaridges. Not a mountaineer, but you know, just came for the ride. And then I met somebody, and of course I got married, and now that's finished. But I've got a son and a daughter. My daughter is working in care. She's 46. My son is a couple of years younger. He's got a taxi firm in Barmouth. And I've got 7 wonderful, wonderful grandchildren. I had a Caribbean passport. In the army, I had an army ID card, which meant I could go anywhere. Okay? I could go anywhere. But now I was stuck with a passport for the island, Trinidad and Tobago, where if you wanted to go somewhere, you had to go and get a visa. Okay, I was born British. Of course, I'm now one of the Windrush generation, you know. And it was only till 2018, yeah, that I was able to go to the Home Office in Liverpool and say to the lady, you know, I got and made the phone call, and I got there and I saw a lot of my own people from the Caribbean who'd been here. They joined the army, they had kids, they contributed. You know, okay, we're not all perfect, so if you made mistakes. And the way they were being treated, and that sort of affected me a bit. But it doesn't stop you from, it doesn't make you hate anybody, it just makes you realise that, you know, you go, you give your bit, but when the time comes, us locals here, we don't get that sort of help that we were entitled to. I'm not talking about benefits, I'm talking about, you know, our rights that was taken from us. Bear in mind, I'm a person of colour, and when I came here, I never had any of that, but when all these people came along, suddenly there were rumblings in Towin of, you know, people coming and take our houses and things like this. Well, people weren't sure, and of course, around that time, there was National Front and you know, nonsense like that going on. So everybody felt a bit threatened, you know. But after a while, they came over, they all felt sorry for these people, and a lot of them tried to help. A lot of them saw me when they came off, and they saw this guy driving around this long wheelbase Land Rover the day after the trains got in, and so I wondered, how did he get the job? You know, and they were sort of looking at me and thinking, how did you get the job? Why did you do that? You know, and a lot of people in the shops, because I lived in Abergavenny, I didn't just come to the army, a lot of people in Towin actually mistook me for one of them, you know. It's life, isn't it? But it was very funny. So of course I milked it a lot, you know. I mean, there was one person who was overcharging the Asians quite a lot. He made a habit of it, and I went in there one day with them, and of course he was doing it, and I came out in the Cockney accent. You know, watch what you're doing, mate, you know, and. Since then it stopped. Yeah. Well, as far as I knew, it stopped. I won't call his name. It'll be, you know, but it happened. But but everybody in Towin was wonderful people. Wonderful people. Yeah. That's why I'm still in the area.